We'll now hear from Mira Sorvino. Mira came to Albany at the beginning of the legislative crusade, and her testimony was so powerful, so impactful, so personal, that it had an impact all throughout the state capitol, and it had a really profound effect on legislators. I know it wasn't easy, but I want to say thank you, because there is nothing like a person who can put the issue in context, and you did that so well by being in Albany. So thank you. Mira Sorvino.
Hello, and thank you, Governor Cuomo, for your extraordinary leadership on this matter. We have such a champion in you, and it is so heartening and beautiful. And to Time's Up, of course, for everything. We wouldn't really be here without you. And to Senator Biaggi and Assemblywoman Simotas and all the legislative action groups, such as the Sexual Harassment Working Group, who also work tirelessly. But, you know, it's also the grassroots support that made this happen. This is the will of the people. The tens of thousands who made their wishes known to their elected representatives. This is democracy working. There is a hunger out there for justice, and we are here to tell all of you who feel that hunger that we are getting closer to that day when predators will not abuse unabated in an atmosphere of impunity, that survivors will be believed and supported. Our actions, our collective demand to be heard, are producing fruits of justice, of possibility. This bill goes a long way towards granting second and third degree rape victims the ability to pursue that justice. I'm here today to tell you that our voices do matter. That decisions which lead you to telling your truth in this painful area are generally very hard, but they're worth it. Not only for you, within you, as you realize that you are worth fighting for, but for all the others waiting for that moment when they too might get up the nerve to break their own dam of silence. Each time one of us stands up to rape culture, we stand up for all of us. And as the numbers swell, so do our results. We are changing things. For our daughters, for our sons, for ourselves, for our elders, for everyone. Because these sexual crimes are indiscriminate. They will be perpetrated in the toniest penthouse, in the dimmest lit back street, the coziest dorm room at the most prestigious university, the furthest back room at the highest government institution, and the most desolate beach. They will affect the poor and the rich, the child and the elderly, people of every color, creed, ethnic group, political affiliation, gender identity, or sexual preference. We are all at risk. The life-changing trauma, the pain, and the shame are the same. So I and we are here to say to survivors, you are not to blame. You are not worthless. You are not less than. You are not dirty or damaged goods. You are not without recourse or support or credibility. You are not without hope. And perhaps most importantly, you are not alone. We are here for you to extend our love and our comfort and our tears and our anger for you. You, the survivors, the strong ones. And we will fight for you until this society does its utmost to protect you and to halt the course of so many men who thought rape and sexual misconduct was their right and privilege. We will do it together for all the phoenixes. We will rise. Please come join us. Thank you very much.
That is beautifully, beautifully said. You can see why Mira had such an impact when she was in Albany. And we wouldn't be here today, I believe, without Mira and the people from Time's Up making this case very personally and very persuasive. Before I sign the bill, the overall fight is for women's equality. And it's almost shocking when you say that, because it forecasts the problem, which is we don't have women's equality. We have widespread inequality. And it's supposed to be 2019, and we're so sophisticated and we're so advanced. We don't have basic equality for women. And it is across the spectrum. It is still a male-dominated society, and these policies and these rules and these laws were written through that prism, and it's pervasive. And it is still a male-dominated society today, whether it's corporate America or political America or financial America. And you see it right across the board. We have inequality in hiring, in the workplace, in discrimination. We're still fighting to protect a woman's right to control her own body. And freedom from sexual assault, freedom from domestic violence, and protection when those situations occur. That's the overall fight. The specific today and the victory today is on rape and sexual assault. And it's not just a change in the law. Mira's point is right. This is a societal acknowledgement of an injustice that went on for a long time. The law said a victim of rape has to bring their claim in 5 years or they lose their right. 5 years is a terribly short period of time if you have any appreciation for what the person went through. A victim of rape has undergone one of the worst traumas imaginable. It is a trauma that can last weeks, months, years, a lifetime of recovery. And to say to a person, well, if you have been so abused and wronged, you have to find a way to make it public and bring the charge, and you better do it within 5 years, compounds the crime. To go public, to bring a charge, you have to get to a point where you are willing to talk about this and relive it time and time again, and then be questioned about it and be judged on it and have your actions scrutinized on it. When for most victims, the last thing they want to do is revisit the trauma and go through it over and over and over again and expose it to the world and family members and go through all of that. What did the 5 years do? It protected the perpetrator. It allowed people immunity. It allowed them to go out and do it again. And I believe it was part of a pattern, deliberate or indeliberate, where it was society's way of covering up the problem. Why? Because society is very good at covering up these deep, chronic flaws that we don't really want to see and come to grips with. Rape and sexual assault is much more common and frequent than we admit. Child abuse is much more common and frequent than we admit. Domestic violence is much more common and frequent than we admit. And I believe this system was designed in a way to protect society so they don't have to acknowledge this problem. That doesn't work. You will never solve a problem in life you are unwilling to admit. And denial is not a life strategy. We've denied this for too long. And what Time's Up has said, and what the victims who have spoken up have said, and what the advocates have said is, enough is enough. We're not going to let you sweep it under the carpet anymore. It's been a pervasive, dark secret in society that nobody's wanted to acknowledge. It is a chronic problem, and we acknowledge it today. So we changed the law from 5 years for rape 2 to 20 years and rape in the third to 10 years, which now give people an appropriate amount of time to deal with the issue and then decide whether or not they want to come forward and pursue charges. but it doesn't take that right away from them. It ends a law that is in place for many, many years. But as I said in the beginning, it's a societal acknowledgement that says to victims all across the state and all across this nation, we hear you, we believe you, and we will stand with you, and we condemn this behavior as strongly as you do. And we say that as a society. We all condemn this behavior and say no more, not here, and New York is the first state and the strongest state to say it.
Sorry.
That's for me, actually.
It's my brother, I'm sorry.
Brothers
I'm so
always do
sorry.
that. Again, I'll end where I started. We wouldn't be here without the people in this room. Change comes hard, even when it's right. Even when it's right, change is still hard to accomplish. And it takes committed people who have the courage to stand up and make the case, even when it's hard. And this was hard for many people on a personal level, to get up and tell their story. And you have my deepest respect for what you've done. And you have made the world better for other people. So God bless you. We'll take some on-topic questions from the press. I will then stay behind and do off-topics, but are there any on-topic questions?
We've heard a lot about legislation that kind of had been bottled up the last several years because Republicans controlled the Senate. Was this one of them? Was this on the sort of Democratic list?
Yes.
Governor,
Short answer, yes. I'll give you the long answer if you want, but the short one is actually good.
The Manhattan DA urged you in a letter to support this very bill, and in that same letter, he asked you to close what he called a loophole. He called the voluntary intoxication loophole, which he says makes it difficult for prosecutors to hold rapists accountable when the victims have when they've drunk too much and when they're intoxicated. Do you support closing the voluntary intoxication loophole?
Yeah, that is something we're looking at very seriously to propose in January.
Governor, can you explain what the difference is, without getting too nuanced, the difference between second and third degree sexual assault? And also, if I could ask this more, because we didn't hear from you, just the reason why you're here today also?
Please.
I'm here as a member of Time's Up. I think when New York Time's Up formed, we realized that our agenda was going to be very different from California, and that California, where it was first formed, was a more progressive state. And so as we started our meetings, we talked about what we could do to change policy in New York, and we're very happy that the Time's Up safety agenda is being signed into a bill today.
And difference, Governor?
Difference is basically culpability and relationship. On rape 1, it is intentional, period. There are no mitigating circumstances. There is no statute of limitations. On rape 2, the statute of limitations was 5 years. That now goes to 20. Rape 3, it was 5 years. It goes to 10. And we can give you the definition of each one afterwards. Anything else on topic? Okay, then let's sign the bill. I'm going to start. You think it's easy to sign a bill? Do you know how this works? Yes, because these are signing pens that these are ceremonial signing pens. Why don't we slide you over? Do you mind? I'm going to pull you in a little bit. These are ceremonial signing pens. Yes. Well, it depends how many pens they give you. But they were to be an official signing pen. Congratulations. Congratulations. Robbie?
They've been kept in the refrigerator.
Congratulations, guys.
Here comes
Those
some
are
more.
unofficial, but you have those are unofficial. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay.
Governor, can we ask you about the license tags, the reason for reversing the
Yes.
$25 fee?
Yes.
If people just didn't like it or what?
No, do you want to understand license plates more than you ever wanted to know about license plates? You don't even have license plates.
Oh, yes, I do.
Do you? Here's more than you ever needed to know about license plates. The fee for new plates has been $25 since 2009. It was set prior to me coming in by law, and it has been $25 for 10 years. It's never gone up. So for the legislators who now say, oh boy, it's $25, that's too high, it's been $25 for 10 years. Why, when you did the budget, Assemblyman Senator, didn't you ever change or propose changing it? So that's been the fee for 10 years. If you want to lower the fee, you can lower the fee. Money is fungible, right? So you lower the fee, you'd have to find money somewhere else, which they can do. That's called the budget process. They never proposed it. They never talked about it. The second issue is getting a new license plate at the end of 10 years. The National Association that regulates this industry says 10 years is the useful life of a license plate. Why is that important? Because the license plates now are vital because the electronic tolling reads the license plate. And this is new, and we're going to electronic tolling all across the state. If the plate is damaged, or if the coating has peeled, the reflective coating, the camera doesn't work. If the camera doesn't work, you don't get billed. If you don't get billed, it means I pay your toll, right? So the plate has to be intact with this reflective coating because the camera works off the reflective coating. The useful life of the plate before it deteriorates is 10 years. If the plate doesn't work, the tolling system doesn't work. I've said, look, will some plates still be in good condition at the end of 10 years? Yes. My license plates. My cars never come out of the garage. So my plates will be fine in 10 years. And if we can come up with a mechanism to inspect the plate, so if the plate is in good condition, the person doesn't have to replace them, fine. And we're exploring a number of mechanisms that could do that inspection. Could you do it at your normal inspection station when you have to go get the car inspected for emissions, et cetera, the sticker on the window? Could we add the license plate to that? Could you bring it into the DMV and they determine whether or not the reflective coating is still in place? So we can come up with a mechanism. If a person says, yes, my plate is 10 years old, but I think it's still in good shape, fine. If you don't have to replace the plate, there's no reason to replace the plate. But if the plate is bad, you owe it to everybody to replace the plate. Otherwise, you're defrauding the toll system.
But the decision came on the same day as the poll. That didn't.
We said it 3 weeks ago.
No, we said it 3 weeks ago. No, that's just the Albany LCA, which likes to conflate. It's a better story. That we said this, what I just said to you, we said weeks ago.
Governor, as you know, the hearing is going on for the commission.
Yeah, I have to be more aggressive. These guys, they'll just talk right over you. They'll step in. They just.
The Commission on Public Financing is holding a hearing. There was a story, as I'm sure you saw this morning, that Jay Jacobs may have directed the head of the Democratic Party in Albany to try and pack the hearing with people who are against fusion voting. Given the circumstances, and we've been told that this commission is independent, do you think that's an appropriate action for him as the chairman to take, or does it at least give the appearance that his thumb is on the scales against fusion?
Yeah, I didn't see the story. On your recounting of it, I don't think it's anything out of the ordinary that people try to get people to go to a hearing. And the committee will actually vote and decide down towards the end of the year. And whatever they decide, they decide. They'll have differences of opinion, I'm sure, and people will have strongly held opinions. For many of them, they're intimately involved with these subjects. They have strong opinions.
But shouldn't he be independent if he's the chair, and assuming that the commission itself...
He's not actually the chair, Zach. There is no chair.
Jay Jacobs is your appointment?
Yes,
Okay.
but he's not the chair.
I have
There's
several
no chair.
appointments.
Yeah.
Okay. But don't you think that Jay Jacobs, who is in this role, is now in a position where he looks like he is biased one way or another towards fusion voting, and we've been told that you don't have a position on it?
No,
You're
Zach,
appointed.
there is not. You don't, these people don't come as blank slates. They all have opinions and positions. Many of them work in these fields. I mean, maybe there are some issues that they're wholly uninformed about. But basically, they work in this area, they're experts in this area. They're going to come with opinions and feelings that they're going to bring to the table. They're not independent, blank pieces of paper who are just going through this process for the first time and are going to come up with an opinion. Independent, yeah, to exercise their judgment, but they're going to have very strong opinions, some of them, and they should. They feel very passionate about some of these issues, and that's exactly right. So I don't understand what you're saying. He has a position on how election laws should be handled. Yeah, I know. That's why he's on the panel.
And you don't share that.
I haven't taken a position on any of these issues.
Yeah, so it sounds like we have another victim of the National Grid issue. A young father poured his life savings into a home in Roslyn. He has spent the last 8 months doing renovations on his house. There's an active gas line and a meter. Calls to get the gas turned on, and they say, no, there's nothing you can do. We're not turning any more gas lines on because of the pipeline issue. And because we were denied, we're not gonna accept any new applications. So he's gone round and round and round. He is living out of an apartment, paying the mortgage for this new house, driving his kid from Little Neck to Roslyn. And November 1st, his lease is up, and he says he has nowhere to go, and he is desperate. And my question is, why is National Grid allowed to do this stuff to families, to senior citizens, to small businesses? I mean, this is a guy who's really at the end of his rope and doesn't know who to turn to.
Yeah, they're not. And if you give us his information, we'll have the Public Service Commission, which oversees National Grid, look into the specific situation. What they're doing overall, I believe, and I'm a little cynical about their motivations, so just factor that in. They want a new pipeline approved for natural gas. Their argument is they need this new pipeline because they're running out of supply. The way they dramatize that is by saying, we won't accept any new applications. They have then extended that, in my opinion, to not just new applications, but people who had gas turned off temporarily for one reason or another. When they go to turn their gas back on, National Grid won't turn their gas back on. I've asked the Public Service Commission to investigate them because a cynic would say maybe they're doing this to create pressure so that people support the pipeline. I'm not saying that's their motivation, but it might be. They need to demonstrate to the Public Service Commission that they have a bona fide reason for limiting supply. And second, they have a bona fide reason on why they would go to people who are existing users and be unwilling to turn their power back on. But on the specific, if you give me the specific information, we'll follow up on that.
Don't you see the problem with one company having this monopoly over everyone? This guy has no one else to turn to, no other option. I mean, he can spend 40 grand putting solar panels on his roof, but isn't that a problem when one utility holds this monopoly over so many hundreds of thousands, millions of people?
Well, yeah, you would have to, the choice would be, if you wanted gas, heat. If you wanted oil or electric, he would have options, obviously. But for gas, the way our system works, there are utilities that are highly regulated, but they are the utility for gas, whether it's Con Ed or NYPERG or different providers in different parts of the state. But yes, they are the sole provider for gas. Again, if you want oil heat, you can go somewhere else. If you want electric heat, you can go somewhere else. But if you want gas, they are the sole provider. That's all throughout the state, all throughout the country, by the way. But they are government regulated because of that reason. Because they have such a powerful franchise and a monopoly, they are government regulated. And that's why I called for an investigation of them, because I am very wary of them. All of the utilities, frankly, and I think they may be trying to increase political pressure to get their pipeline approved. And the way they do that is by creating these situations where people are suffering real hardship.
Back on topic,
We have
just
one more,
just
guys.
one question. If a bill that closes this involuntary intoxication loophole comes before your...
It depends on what it says. There is no such bill. It depends on what. Yeah, well, but it depends on what the specific proposal is, right? Because the devil is always in the details. I worked in the Manhattan DA's office as an ADA. I was the Attorney General. You have to look at the bill. There is no conceptual approval. In concept, I am interested. And I get the question and get the possible remedy. But you have to then see it with all the details, and that's what we're looking at for January.
More broadly, are you in favor of affirmative consent being the standard, not just at universities, but throughout the state?
Well, we passed that for universities, right? Say yes, affirmative consent. So yes, I support it. The question is how you implement it, and that's why the devil is in the details.
I'd like to ask you about the vaping ban. If you could talk about your process in getting to that decision of having the vaping ban, and speak to the businesses that say they might lose a large amount of financial profit or have to close down because.
Yeah. First, the big money behind vaping are not the mom and pop stores. It's big tobacco. When big tobacco had what I believe were false and misleading practices closed down in 1998, they have migrated now to vaping. And it's the same model. I'm going to get you addicted to nicotine. I have a customer for life. What they did with cigarettes, they're doing with vaping, in my opinion. Where we stop them with cigarettes, they still have an open track on vaping. We said on cigarettes, you can't market to young people. Vaping companies do. We said, federal government 2009, you can't have flavored cigarettes because they attract young people. You can only have tobacco and menthol. We said that legally. Vaping, they've come up with all sorts of flavors, bubble gum, cotton candy, Captain Crunch, Scooby-Doo, obviously to attract young people. And there has been no long-term research on what these devices do. We have hundreds of cases nationwide where people have gotten sick or died using these devices. And at a minimum, they are getting kids addicted to nicotine at very young ages who have no idea of the danger. You talk to these young kids, they all say the same thing. Oh, it's entirely safe. Well, where did you hear that? Who said it's entirely safe? Nobody even knows if it's safe. Nobody studied the long-term effect of inhaling steam and chemicals deep into your lungs. So it's not the mom and pop vaping store. That's not the money. It's Philip Morris, it's Altria, it's the big tobacco companies. Now, they're putting the mom and pop stores up because they're the sympathetic face, but that's not the money in this industry. It's tobacco. And you have about 25% of high school kids who are now doing it, 40% of 12th graders. I'll bet you the numbers are higher for vaping than they were for cigarettes. And how crazy is that? That we spend 50 years coming to our senses about cigarettes, informing people, cost us billions of dollars, millions died, and now we have young kids on these vaping products almost overnight.
Are you going to take a look at menthol and mint flavors as well?
Menthol, yes. Short answer is yes. Commissioner Zucker is looking at it. He's going to have an answer in 14 days. You know, menthol, there is an argument for vaping products that they help people get off cigarettes. The counter argument is there are many better ways to get off cigarettes. As a matter of fact, any way is better than vaping. But that is an argument, and there are people who smoke menthol cigarettes who would want a menthol vaping product. So that's the yin and the yang. Commissioner Zucker is looking at it. He'll have an answer in 14 days.
Mint was in the ban.
So, yeah.
Mint was in the ban, yeah.
And so far, anybody who's been sick or had any kind of respiratory illness, these are not a result of flavors, right?
You do not know that. The evidence has been, yes, you're right. Most of the cases have been linked to another compound that was smoked in their device. But even that, Zach, that's the argument the gun industry makes. The bullet kills. I didn't make the bullet. Yeah, I know, but you made the gun, and the bullet went in the gun. And that's how the person died. They make the device. Even if you buy their counterfeit, it's not me, it's black market product, you made the device. You made the gun. And the bullet fits the gun. So you don't escape liability there. But even illness, death, you know, the whole point isn't just about death. You are addicting kids to nicotine at 12, 13, 14. I'm a former smoker. Kicking the nicotine habit is tremendously hard and is in many ways a lifelong struggle. And these kids have no idea what they're getting into. And by the way, the law is 21 years old. It goes to 21 on November 3rd. Today, the law is 18 years old. You're not supposed to be able to buy vaping products anyway. So you're marketing to them, you're advertising to them, you're designing a product for them when it's not even legal to sell to them.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.